guys, welcome to the Angry Birds. So I'm going to create new, and I'm going to call my project Angry Birds. I have 8.5 by 11 inches, and I'm just going to say create, make an artboard. I have my layers panel open. I have Pathfinder open. If you don't know how to do that, I went down to layers and just clicked on it, and I went to Pathfinder and clicked on that as well. So I'm going to continue with that. I'm going to bring in my my shapes, which I used last week to make those basic shapes. So I'm going to say File, Open, and let me find them. I put them in here somewhere. There they are. And I'm just going to place them in here. And I'm going to hold down my Shift key and make that a little bit smaller and just have them over there off to the side. Let me zoom in a little bit. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to start with two tools today. Of course, I'll be using my selection tool and my white arrow direct selection tool, but I'll also be using the pen tool and the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to start with the pen tool, and I'm going to just show you how a quick reference to how it works. I just click once to get a starting point, an anchor, and I click again and hold this time, left clicking, and just hold and pulling. And whatever direction, if I pull down, I get that Bezier curve going up. If I went and pulled up, I get the Bezier curve going down. And then if I let go and I want to come back and tie it up there, I need to kind of go back to this anchor and click on it before I do that. And then I can left click and hold and drag this. So this is kind of key for this assignment, is knowing how to do that. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna go ahead and go to my rectangle tool and grab the ellipse tool. And I'm just going to make a circle. Kind of large. And I'm gonna go grab my selection tool or press keyboard shortcut letter V, and with my selection tool I'm going to move this over a little bit, and I'm going to press keyboard shortcut letter A on my keyboard, and that highlights my white arrow. And I'm just going to come down to this corner, and I'm just going to left click and drag. I need to click outside of it first, sorry. And you'll see I'm kind of getting this egg shaped, something like that. That's what I want. Something like that, yeah. And I want to increase the stroke on this, the outside line. So this is the fill inside, and everything around it, surrounding the fill, is the stroke. Over here on my left, my control panel, tools panel, I have two squares. The white one is the fill, and the black one is the stroke. If I click on one of those, let's say the stroke, and actually click on the path out here, you'll see up in my options bar, it has the stroke, it has the size, it has uniform and basic. I want my stroke to be black, which it already is. Okay, and on the points, I want it to be 0.5, 0.5. Over where it says basic, excuse me, I'm going to go to the 5-point oval. And you'll see it selected that for me. I can choose different ones for this. I can just choose the 5-point round. I think I'm going to go with that one. Actually, it looks a little bit better at this point. So I'm going to stick with the 5-point round. And now I want to make a copy of this. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm going to make some feathers on top for the angry bird. And I do that by going back to my ellipse tool. I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to make something like that. And I'm going to grab my selection tool again, click on the path, go up to the stroke, make it 0.5, and I'm going to choose the 5-point round. I'll need another one of these, so I'm going to press down my Option key, would be Alt on the Chromebook, and I hold it down and I just drag this over and it copies it. So I'm going to rotate this one up like that, and I'm going to do that with this one as well. And I'm just going to bring this one down about right there. And I could use my arrow keys on my keyboard, as I've been telling you, to kind of get this effect. And I'm going to bring this one down and place it right over there on that. Okay, now it's time for my Pathfinder. In my Pathfinder, I want to join all three of these. So I just select them. I can just left click and drag a selection around this and go up to where it says Unite, and there we go. I want to copy this. So I click inside of it and I hold down my Alt key, and I'm going to drag it over here. And we'll find out later why I'm doing that, and I'll tell you about that. I want my layers panel open. Let me open that again. Okay. So I'm going to add a new layer at this point. I'm going to go down to here, right just to the left of that garbage can or trash can, and click on that. And I'm going to put this copy that I made up in that second layer by doing that. And you'll see that you can see it in there now. But I'm going to work in layer 1. I'm going to close this one up. No, I'm not. There you go. Open layer 1 up, and it has my paths so far. All right, so let's go back and add some color to this. I click on it to select it. I go over to my Tools panel in my foreground color. I double click on that to bring up this palette. I'm going to choose red, bright red, and I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so far we're doing really good. I'm going to add those shapes, those basic shapes that we made. This is going to be my eyebrows. This is going to be the bottom of his bill, or going into his chin, I guess, if a bird has a chin. This will be his eye, or no, inside of his eyes. And I use that shape for the feather. This will be his bill, and this will be his tail. So let's go back. Excuse me. So let's start with the eyes, or rather the bill. I'm sorry. So I'm going to use my pen tool for this, and I'm going to change my color first by double clicking that. I'm just going to go back to white for now. so my fill is white. And, oh, wait, I didn't want to do that. Let me go back one step. I want to make sure don't have that selected before I do that. So I actually changed that color, sorry. And I'm going to grab my pen tool. I'm going to come down to this bottom area down here, and I'm going to just make my first left click to make an anchor. Okay, I'm not holding it down, I just made an anchor. And now I'm going to come up over here, and I'm going to left click and hold this time, and I'm going to make this shape, something like that. Yeah. And now I'm going to come back to this and close up that anchor point, and I'm going to go over to this one, and I'm going to try to left click and hold and get this Bezier curve to shape in this bottom shape. So I'm left clicking, I'm holding, and you'll see I'm dragging to the left, and I'm trying to get that blue line right inside of there as best I can. And it's not bad, it's not perfect, but I can go back, grab my selection tool, or I'm sorry, my direct selection tool, and click on this anchor point, and I can use my arrow keys to kind of move that around a little bit and reshape it. And I think that's going to be okay. All right. I'm going to grab my selection tool again. I want to change this color to kind of a off, something like this maybe. That might be too dark. Something like that. I'm going to try that. Yeah, I like that. Let's go make some eyes. I'm going to click out of here. Again, I'm going to change this fill back to white again. And I'm going to grab my ellipse tool. And I'm just going to drag this over, left clicking and dragging. And I'm going to grab my selection tool, click on the path, go up to the stroke, make it 0.5, go to basic, grab the 5-point round, so I have that. I'm going to copy that by holding down my Alt key and dragging it over. Now I'm going to position these in my bird, in my head. And I think I'm going to put them right next to each other. I can place them and then see how they look. Yeah, they're just touching. I think I want this one up a little bit higher though. So I'm going to click it, use my arrow keys to go a couple spots. Maybe one more. Okay. Now I want to put the eye, the center of the eye in. So again, with my ellipse tool, I'm just going to make some smaller circles to represent my eye. I am going to fill it with black. I'm not going to worry about the stroke on this, I don't think. I'm just going to fill this with black. Clicking on my square, grabbing black, and I'm just going to do the same thing, holding down my Alt key and dragging over to make a copy. Now I'm going to insert those, and you can put them however you want. You can make them cross-sided, you can make him looking over to the side. Maybe I'll do that. I'll just put him here. Use my arrow keys. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to make the bill, and that was these kind of two shapes here that I was making last week. I'm going to choose a color for that. So I'm double clicking on my square, and I'm going to make it a golden kind of bill for him. Yeah, like that. So that's in my foreground color. I'm going to grab my pen tool and I'm going to click, click, and hold. And I'm bringing that up like that. And I'm going to close it, clicking on that anchor, coming over to my beginning anchor, left clicking, holding, and adding that kind of shape. And I am going to grab my selection tool and I am going to click on the path and make sure I get that stroke back to 0.5, basic, 5-point round. And I'm going to go there. I'm going to go ahead and set that right in that area. Yeah, and I think I'll tilt it a little bit. Yeah, that looks fine. And now I'm going to make the bottom of the bill. If I go back, I kind of use that shape, and I'm just going to make an inversion of that. So let's do that. With that same color selected, I'm grabbing my pen tool again. I'm coming over and I'm clicking just once. I'm coming over about that far, not too far. I want it to be smaller than the top one that I put in. So I'm left clicking, raising it up a little bit this time, going back to my point, and now I'm going to go back to my return and I'm going to left click and drag and really kind of make this shape here. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to grab my selection tool, click on my stroke again, and 0.5 and the 5-point round. Okay. Now I can put this in position. I want to rotate this so it almost seems like it's open. Hit my arrow keys and bring it up. Then I'll rotate it some more. Something like that. I want that to match up, so I'm gonna move my left arrow key a little bit. There we go. I think that looks fine. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm gonna add my eyebrows, and if you remember, that was the very first shape we made. I don't need to make any Bezier curves. I'm really just gonna use my pen tool and click, click, click. So I'm going to change my color first by going over to my square, double clicking, making it black and saying OK. Getting my pen tool, I'm going to come up here and do it up here, away from my target. Sometimes it's always better to work outside instead of trying to put things on your target area, because it can influence you a little bit. And then you run the risk of moving things around accidentally. So I'm going to start at the bottom, click once, I'm going to come up here, click it a second time. I'm not holding this down, I'm just clicking. I'm going to come back to where that intersects. I'm going to come out here, I'm going to click down here, and I'm going to return it. I'm going to grab my selection tool. I'm going to look at that, and I don't like so much, it's not as even. So I grab my direct selection tool, I click on the outside of it, and I can just drag this up a little bit, like that, and drag this one out. There we go. I like that. Grabbing my selection tool, or just hitting the letter V on my keyboard allows me to bring this down. I'll put it slightly over the top of the eyes. There we go. So now I want to add some shadows behind the eyes, a couple of right here, and then another one over the top. But let me just make some little frown lines up here, and I can do that very easily with the pen tool. I'm going to change this shade in here in the foreground color. I'm going to click it and I'm going to go back to red where we started with the Angry Bird, or where it was here. And I'm just going to make a darker shade of that for the shadows. So I'm going to come down here and I think that might work. Maybe like that. And I'm going to say okay. And that'll be my foreground color, and I'll put that behind the eyes. If it doesn't work, I might have to change it. But let's just start there with that color. Grab my pen tool. I'm just going to click and come over and just left click and hold this down a little bit like that. I'm trying to make that shape of just his frown line up on top of it. And I think that's gonna work. Let me grab my selection tool. Let's move this down here in place. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm just gonna make a smaller one up here. So let me grab my pen tool. Smaller one. Left clicking. Oops. Left clicking once, coming about this far over, left clicking and holding this time and creating just a little bit. Yeah, that's fine. Grab my selection tool, place that right above. There we go. The angriness is showing up. Now I'm going to grab my ellipse tool and I'm going to make a circle a little bit, pretty much the same size as this eye. Like that. Maybe that's too big. Maybe like that. I'm going to copy it. Grab my selection tool, holding down my Alt key. And I'm going to try to put this underneath my eye. So I'm going to have it like that. Yeah. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So just have these shadows. Now you say, well, these are covering that up. This is where I come over to my layers panel and I'm going to drag those two shadows for eyes that should go behind them underneath my eyes. If I look at my layers panel, I have what I just made. I had those eyebrows here, or those frown lines. Here's the eyebrow, here's the beak or bill, here's the center of the eyes, and here's the outline of my eyes. So I want to drag these below these two ovals. I'll start with my first one, left click, dragging it down, and sure enough, it's underneath that eye. Same thing with this one. I'm coming down, and there we go. So far, so good. I'm going to add a couple right here on the side, sort of like these. I'm going to use the oval or the ellipse tool. And I'm just going to create this kind of shape here. And make a smaller one. That's good. And I'm going to hold down, or I'm going to grab my selection tool again, and I'm going to bring these right there. And this one as well. Okay, while I'm here, I'm going to make another one on this side of shadow and try to make one on the bottom here. I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to start right here. So I'm going to left click right on that path. And I'm not dragging, I'm just coming down here. And I'm going to click and hold. And I'm going to curve that in a little bit. I'm going to come tie it up by clicking that anchor again. And then go to my return. And I'm going to try to attempt to fill that part in. So I'm going to go left click and pull, and I'm going to do the best I can to fill in that shade. I don't know if I'm going to get it. Getting pretty close there. Let's see what that looks like. No. Maybe, let's try that. Pretty close. Don't like this area so much. I'm going to try to grab my direct selection tool and see if I can mess with this handle a little bit. And I'm pulling that out. I think it's going to work. This is a little bit down there, so I'm actually going to click on this with my selection tool, and I'm going to hit my down arrow key a little bit, and then a little bit to the right. It's not perfect. It's pretty close. You'll see I have a little spot there. I'd rather have it overlapping though, so I'm going to highlight it again, come down a little bit more on my arrow key, and then a little bit to the left. And that's pretty close. I want to put another one right here. So I grab my pen tool. I'm going to click once here. I'm going to come right up in this area there, left clicking, and I'm just really trying to match that up. I might go over it a little bit. That's fine. Now I'm coming down here. I am left clicking and I'm pulling this up a little bit to get that shape. And it was kind of that bill shape I had. I'll show you after I get this. I'm going to close this up by clicking that anchor. I'm going to come up to this one and hopefully I can get this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to left click on this and drag, and I'm going to try to get that filled in there. I think I got it. So I'm going to grab my selection tool. I think it's okay. I think if I click outside of it, you'll see that I covered this over. And now you're gonna figure out why I made that copy over there, the one over here. I'm actually gonna get rid of that fill that's in there, that white, and then I'm gonna place this over the top of this. And I'm hopefully gonna cover up these mistakes I have, because it's really hard to match those up. So that's my plan. So I'm going to grab my selection tool and I am going to drag this over. The only problem is I want to get rid of this fill. And the way I do that is by going up to the top, and I'm going to come over, click on that little arrow, come over to where it says none, and it's empty. Now I can just drag this right over the top of this one. And you'll see that it did kind of cover up my mistakes there. The only one I didn't like is that one. Why is that? Let me look again. Okay. I'm going to move it with my arrows. So I'm going to go left, 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 and take a look at it. It's pretty good. Looks pretty good. The only one is this one. So I'm going to move this below that if I can. Where is that shape? It's right here. Let's see if I can move that below that. I don't want it that low. let me see if I can do this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to hold down my Alt key, make another copy of this. I'm going to put this one over and use my arrow keys, go a little bit to the right and a little bit down. Oh, that looks better. And I think I'm going to double it up with this one, just in case. There we go. I like that. So all I'm going to do now is come in and add that last shape. That bill was actually that last shadow I was trying to put in. So let's come in and grab my arrow key, or I'm sorry, my pen tool. And I'm just going to make this shape, that arrow. So I will grab my pen tool. And again, just like the eyebrows, I'm going to just click. I'm not going to be clicking and dragging. I'm going to change my color to black, my fill. And I'm just going to click. I'm going to start there. And come out here. Click, clicking, coming back in here, out there a little bit, clicking, 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 clicking up, and I'm going to finish it up there. Grab my selection tool and place it right there. I could put it underneath everything. I'll try to do that. Let's left click and drag this and go all the way underneath. One more. Let's go under here. Won't let me. Use my arrow keys to go in. And there we go. All right, that's my angry bird. Thank you for joining me, and I think you'll do a great job. They don't always look the same. They're like different every time I make them. So I'm sure yours will be different, and I look forward to seeing yours. Thank you so much.